Hello, everyone. Welcome to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this is a topic based conversation about the ups and downs of dating. Whether you're 18 or 80, you have a story to tell. But the gist of this podcast is just a conversation, no judgment. Today, I have Dr. Michelle R. Hanna. Through her life's medical challenges and overwhelming love for humanity, the health and emotional well being of people, and commitment to living authentically is among the most influential women today. Michelle's family, education, and personality molded her life as a resounding voice for the brokenhearted and those that desire to be free. Michelle, Dr. Michelle, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So, Dr. Michelle, tell us about your journey. How did you start in this field? What was it about this field that you wanted to help people, overcoming their fear? Since that's the topic today, facing, overcoming our fear and pain. What was it? How was Dr. Michelle's journey?
The journey about overcoming fear and pain is in 2002, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer.
Oh, geez.
So, not a whole lot of people were talking about cervical cancer. It wasn't a whole lot of education out there. So, I found a doctor who was just doing some cutting edge stuff. The problem is, I lived in California and he was in DC.
Uh,
And so at the time, I was freshly divorced. I had a little girl. And I just kept thinking to myself, I cannot leave my daughter here to figure it out
mm,
and have all these questions about her mom. Now, although my mom was there, my mom has been such a big support, but you can only tell a child so much. I wanted her to experience me. I wanted her to be able to have a mom to help her grow and navigate through this life. So I made the hard decision um, to move to DC to get treatment. I didn't really want my daughter to see me going through that because I didn't even know what to expect. All I knew was that I didn't want to die, and I didn't know that much information about it. So I couldn't, it was hard for me to even make any definitive choices other than I just don't want to die. So I ended up moving to DC. I did treatment in DC. No one knew in DC that I was going through that. At the time, I was trying to climb that corporate ladder. I knew it wasn't my purpose, but I was just doing what I thought I was supposed to do.
mm,
And I was in the middle of an MBA degree, and no one knew what was going on. I just would put on this face. I would go into an account, I'd come back out, I'd vomit, I'd brush my teeth, and I'd go to the next account. And so I was facing my fear, but I wasn't really feeling it. And I know
mm,
you have to feel to heal. So I wasn't really feeling it. I thought that I was protecting myself by not talking about it, by not connecting to it at all. And I also thought that people were going to judge me, and I didn't want to be judged based off of what I was going through. But it came to a point where I had to stand in my truth. And the way that I did it was a little bit unconventional. I ended up testifying on Capitol Hill about how we needed to educate so many people about HPV,
mm,
um, and how it connects to cervical cancer. And then I ended up connecting with Merck, who at the time they were working on a vaccine called Gardasil at the time, and ended up speaking with them from a advocate point of view. And then before I knew it, within 6 months after that, I started a nonprofit. Didn't know what I was doing. But so the fear of it was now I needed to build this board because for me, I just needed to raise enough money, one, for people that were having to be buried and they didn't even have money for a funeral. So that was one of the things that was really important to me. Two, for women to regain their confidence back because they were terrified of dating. Some of their husbands had left them. So just because they were going through cancer, and that can make you feel really insecure. So that was something I wanted to create a program. So we created the Survivors Pageant. We'd have this Survivors Pageant where instead of swimsuits, they would get up and they would tell their stories. They would display their talents. Oh my God, they were so talented. And we'd have evening gowns. And it was just a beautiful weekend of celebrating life. So that was me facing my fear. And all of that came out of that. So I think fear is basically, or courage. I think courage is a bunch of fear and prayers mixed together,
All
and
right.
that's what gives you courage. So yeah, that was physically painful. It was emotionally, oh, sometimes I felt like my emotions were just being assassinated,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
So it was all of that. But I really feel like maturity is about it's a lot of experiences accumulated that you've overcome. So I really feel like I matured through that whole process. My fear matured, my pain matured.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I know, mean, that's a great story and a great comeback, so obviously we're all happy that you're still here, that you're helping
Mhm.
people out. And and to segue into like you said before, the women that got divorced or their husband left them and now they're out there again. Do we see, or do you see, Michelle, in your journey with women, that once they go through a divorce or they go through a serious breakup where emotions come into play, where, oh my god, what am I going to do without that man? Or even men who have lost a woman that they love, and now they don't want to date anyone for a while, or they get back on the saddle and just pretty much get with any woman they can just to
Yeah.
forget. um and through your journey, how can people do overcome that? Are there a couple of steps that they could take at the beginning of their journey to overcome pain and fear and just say, hey, you know what, I'm coming right back, man, screw that shit, I'm here?
Yeah, I think the first thing that is really important, and I tell everyone this, probably half listen to me, but I always say that when you go through a breakup,
Hmm.
sometimes we need to just take a moment to ourselves
Right.
because sometimes it's not just a breakup with the other person. Sometimes there's some things about us that we need to break away from. There's some things about us that we need to eliminate. And so it takes a moment to reflect, to work on those things because we don't want to continue to keep coming in every relationship the same we were. We just bring the same person and we just switch people, but we're the same person. So that's just like someone that says, oh, I just want to move to another state because I just want to get away from here, I just want to start over again. Yeah, but you bring you. So you got to understand that you have to do the work first. And if you don't know how to do the work, find a therapist, find a coach, find some classes, find a podcast, like even this one, to just start to get information because sometimes it's not as easy for people to just say, oh, I'm just going to go sit in therapy if they've never even connected to that. They don't know what
Right.
it's about, they're not familiar with it. Maybe they have fears around that. So sometimes it can just be where you're comfortable, but just please get the information that you need so that you can take that next step on. So that's the first thing that I would say is
Hmm.
get to yourself. The second thing is when you are able to do that self work, what ends up happening is you become a better person. You become a more authentic person. You start really liking yourself, and then you fall in love with you. And then you attract people who actually fit you, they align with you. Like I remember when I was dating before I got married. Again, I was single for 17 years, but I was dating and I remember when I really just was in a moment of, yes, I feel so good. I feel so joyous. I really like me. That was the moment that I just started to connect with so many great guys. And even though that they were great guys, they weren't the one, but they were great guys.
Mm.
I was not attracting jerks. So I think that those two things are really important to keep in mind.
So we're
Yeah.
working on the inside of ourselves, right? The self work, whether you see a coach or a podcast or anything to, to get the confidence back, right? We're trying to get our confidence back. Um, do we now do we change the friends that are around us? Maybe they might not have that same. I remember hearing this phrase years ago. You're the average of the five people you hang out with. Oh, we're trying to get rid of those toxic friends too, because I mean that's I guess a battle in itself. Is if these are people that you grew up with, and now you're in a different level. You're loving yourself. You feel confident. Like you said, you attract who you are. How important is the people around us or surrounding us? How is that? Does that come into play in in our journey?
Absolutely. Friends are so important because
Mhm.
friends basically should be aligned with us too. They should be aligned with what we're doing, what our purpose is, and we cannot continue to hang out with low frequency people. So if
Mm.
I'm on a higher frequency, so in other words, it's like the ego. When the ego is at top flight, the only other bird he's going to see in the sky is another eagle. So
Mm.
he's not going to really be hanging out with the chickens. Now, we like the chickens do serve a purpose, but we're not going to be hanging out with the chickens, right? So it's kind of like when we start to evolve, our conversation changes, our wants change, our beliefs change. And
Right.
so, honestly, some people are going to go with you, which are very few, but some people are just not going to be able to be your next. But you have to overcome the fear of being able to stand in your truth and say, I'm sorry, but this person is just not my next.
Right.
But your next can be so amazing. It's you connecting to reaching your full potential, to becoming the best version of you. And so why would you let one or two people
Mm.
prevent you from that? They have their own journey and that's fine. You're on a different journey. So you just have to trust the process.
No, oh my God, I couldn't have said it better myself. It's just trusting the process, becoming, I love that, becoming the best version of ourselves, of us.
Mhm.
And and the thing is too, Dr. Michelle, and we're talking with Dr. Michelle or Hannah, and today's topic is a good one, is facing, overcoming fear and pain. I think for me, when I remember, I guess it's, you could say my first love, I was like 24. And I remember when we just stopped communicating, my God, I was in pain. My heart was broken. It
Yeah.
took, I'm gonna be honest with you, maybe a couple of months, maybe half a year. I can't remember, to get her out of my mind, to keep myself busy. I had sports and I had good friends. But for those that don't have that, like I said, we got to be in a good sphere of people. How do we over again, I keep on repeating the question, but it's at least the pain part where, you have that gut-wrenching, uh, days, hours, months, even a year. Do we go away on vacation? Do we, like you said, you can move somewhere, but you're still bringing you to that area. Um, what is that journey of for us then? I know, again, I know it's the same question, it's a different version, but
Mhm.
I just think, um, that I see, even people that I'm around, and they break up, they get back together again, and I could tell that they do love each other, but there's something missing. I think that might be the question. What's missing? If that makes
So
sense at all.
no, 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 it definitely makes sense. I think that what happens is that during that self-reflection period,
Mhm,
when you really lean in, you actually are committed to loving yourself
mhm.
first. And I think when you really commit to that concept, see, that'll stop you from breaking up to making up to making up to breaking up to making up. Because if you break up 3 times, it's probably a good reason why you guys continue to keep literally coming to the same solution. That
Mm,
maybe, I'm not saying it could be forever, but I think it's a true indicator on, let's take a break. Let's figure this
mm,
out apart, because sometimes we get used to toxicity. And so, even as toxic as it is, we get used to it and
mm,
then we get familiar with it. So, why don't we just take a break? Let's figure this out individually,
right.
because actually, that takes courage to take a break
Right.
and to really tap into self. Yeah.
How long would that break be? I guess it depends on the
I
couple
think
or
that it depends on the couple, it depends on the individual. It's you will know. You
right.
will know, because either you'll want to have another conversation, or to say, okay, let's really sit down and talk, or you may want to just have a conversation of closure.
So on your journey, right, Dr. Michelle, where we're seeking peace within ourselves, uh, we're doing the self work, we're seeing coaches, or we're looking at podcasts, whatever it is to better ourselves. Um, the mate, the person that we're looking to be with,
Mhm.
how do we choose someone that is in line with our goals, our values? Because again, now we trust our process. We did
Mhm.
the work ourselves.
Mhm.
How do we find that mate, and hopefully they done the same in their journey? I guess it could be age specific. If your 50s, okay, you figure you got your shit together, everything is good. But if you're in your 20s and 30s, there's still work to be done. Am I in the ballpark?
Yeah, I all the millennials are gonna like hate me for this comment, but if you really, if you just for once just listen and trust me on this, like, you will thank me. I really feel like people need to wait to their at least 38, 39, 40 before they even think about it. I really
Mm.
do. And I say that because I've seen Gen Z is a whole nother conversation. My daughter is a Gen Z. And
Yeah.
the millennials are another conversation. So
Yeah.
it's just having a lot of conversations with them. I really believe that it would be beneficial to just do the work on self,
Mm.
figure out what you even want to do in life, travel if you can,
Right.
meet different people, meet different cultures. Like, what if your husband, you live in California, let's just say, maybe your husband's not in California. Maybe your husband is in Milan. Maybe he is, but
Right.
you wouldn't even know that because you won't get out of California. So I just think
Ah.
that during that time, you're seeing different cultures. You're having a different perspective of diversity and compassion and empathy. You're seeing the world different. So you show up as a different person. And then when you finally get ready to be married, you're going to attract. I always believe you're going to attract who you are. If you're a person that doesn't put good stuff out into the world, you're going to attract people like that. And so I think the best thing I always say is when women come to me all the time, I want to find the one. I want to find the one. I'm ready. I'm ready to get married. I'm ready to have kids. And men do too. Like,
Right.
men are almost close to the percentages of women that are saying the same thing. I always say, can we do something? Can you trust me on this? Can we find the one? And then we find the one. And what if I told you, once we found the one, that would attract the one? And they're
Mm.
like, I don't get it.
Ooh, I lost you.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
There you
How
go. No,
much
you're
more
good.
did you not hear?
No, no, it was just a little bit. You were talking
Really,
about
the whole
when you
thing
find the
went
one.
for
You
some
can't hear me?
reason. I
You can't
can't
hear me?
hear. Maybe
Uh-oh.
we lost. It must have been we lost.
1 2 1 2. Can you still hit?
No,
Oh
no, I
man,
can't
man.
hear
Now
at all.
what? Ah. What the hell is my internet? Shoot.
I'm
What?
unmuted.
Okay.
Can't hear.
I can hear you
I can
now.
hear now.
Okay, good.
Yes,
All
I
right.
can hear now. You'll
Okay.
just have to edit that.
Yeah, I'll have to edit this part. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I tell people to trust me and say, "How about if I helped you find the one?" And they get excited. And
Right.
I said, "Okay." And when we find the one, then you will find the one.
One.
And
Got
actually,
it.
honestly, it won't even really be like you find them. They'll actually literally find you. You'll
Right.
you'll literally be like, "Oh my gosh, how did this even happen?" So, but the thought behind that is you find you. You
Mm,
find you. And then you start to exude you. I'm talking about the authentic you, not
right.
the mask that you put on, not the lies sometimes we tell when we meet someone and we know it's not true and we take their choices away because we lie. So, not that part. I'm
Right.
talking about the you that's like, I'm me. I'm okay with being me. I love me. I like me. I am definitely my biggest cheerleader. I know that I'm an asset, okay? And
Mm,
I'm fun and I'm all of these different things. And you show up like that. You show up with joy. You show up with happiness, and it's okay to have a little spice in there, right? But when you will attract those types of people. Now, I'm not saying you're going to just attract a carbon copy of you, but
right.
I'm saying that you will attract people that have like minds and you guys may enjoy, the same things or hobbies or things like that. So that's the most important thing. I'm telling you, people don't want to hear it because they want to go just straight to, the soulmate. But you are your soulmate because if you connect to purpose, that's soulmate. That's like I'm connected to myself for the rest of my life. And now I have this person that comes in my life who's my soulmate. It's like my co pilot,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're there to just like align with me and I'm there to align with them to really navigate through this thing called life because it's not easy. You're going to have to face a lot of fears together.
Yeah, and like I said, I hate to say the word failure, but I know that comes into play where maybe a relationship doesn't work, and then again you move on and you keep on. It's like anybody else. You go through a bunch of dates, and then eventually, once you find yourself, like you said, and you become. I remember hearing this phrase once. It's like the law of attraction is by becoming attractive yourself, and I really feel
Yeah.
that. And I'm so much in tune with you, where by working on ourselves and just making sure that um, whatever happened in the past, maybe you think about it, but you don't bring that past over to the next one. Because again, that's like the quote of the day. You're bringing you to the next relationship, and that is the quote because if we don't change, we don't reflect, which I love. Let's reflect on what happened. Let's take our time, and then I'm definitely in tune with you where I think miracles do happen. I definitely believe in the law of attraction. I'm a big believer in karma. The next step that we take, right? What we talked about. We got our friends. We change them. We whether we move to a new neighborhood, a new apartment, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Dr. Michelle, the main question is we get the pain, boom, it's done. We got the fear, is done. And like I said before, we're talking to other people, we're feeling good about ourselves. Is there a chance that we could come back with a setback where somebody that we meet new might say a phrase or something that might trigger us to go backwards? How do we avoid that if there's such a thing as avoiding that? Because the other person might not know unless you talk about your past relationships, which I don't like doing personally. Sorry for the long-winded
No, 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 no. It's
that
it's okay. No, I'm glad because it makes it very clear for me. But so triggers are really tricky.
Okay.
Even after all the self work I've done for like the last 20 years, there are times where there is definitely a trigger, and I know
Mhm.
it's a trigger,
Mm.
and it triggers something that obviously was up under all of the layers that I thought that I worked on. But what happens is We will work on something enough until it hurts too bad. And then we'll say, you know what? Okay, I'll be back, but I'm going to work on this over here.
Mm.
And we don't come back. And so then someone comes along and it's a trigger. And like you say, it may not even be that the person meant it,
Right.
but it's meant to happen. The reason
Mm.
why it's meant to happen is because you have to fully heal, not for them, but for you. You have to go through whatever it is, if it's the forgiveness of self or forgiveness of someone else, or to even get down to the bottom line of where it started.
Yeah.
You have to do the work. So, yes, it comes up in sometimes the inopportune times. But that's another thing about if you're with somebody that really is destined to be with you, because they will give you a lot of grace. They'll forgive you. They'll want to walk through it with you. Not saying that they can do your work because they can't. That is
Mhm.
your responsibility.
Right.
But yes, triggers will come up. I said something about the past the other day on Instagram,
Mhm.
and I says, people are, what did I say? People that try to visit my past. I tell them, sorry, darling, I have moved. I'm not even at that address anymore. So you can come to the door, you can ring the doorbell, but no one is going to answer. So
Mm.
sometimes we're able to really say that with conviction. And then sometimes it takes years for us to really be able to say, no one's home. I'm not going there. I'm not going down that road. That is my past. We are in the now, and now spelled backwards is one. So if you do it now, then you have won.
I love that. Wow, that's a good one. I never heard that one before. Well, first of all, Dr. Michelle, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. I really appreciate it. And before I let you go,
You're
just a couple more
welcome.
things. Talk about your books.
So I have The Breaking Point, and that everyone loves that book because we talk about the 4 B's: break up, break down, break through, and break out. So get that one if you have went through fear, if you went through pain, if you are in the midst of you feel the most devastating breakup, definitely read that book. And then I have The Vows, that's for couples. And
Mhm.
that is for anybody thinking about getting married, because I will tell you 50% of the people that come to me that think they're going to get married, they go through the vows program and decide they're not getting married.
Oh
But
no.
listen, I'm helping the divorce rate here, okay?
Oh, okay, good.
And
Okay. I guess
and
it's a
then
silver
we have,
lining. Yeah.
absolutely. We have my latest book, which is a self-vows. I'm so happy about this project because that's what we've been talking about this whole time, is
Yeah.
really turning it back on self. So instead of those traditional vows that you take to that other person,
Yeah.
you are taking it to yourself. So that last little line that says, "To death do us
Do
part."
yes.
No, it first starts with you. "To death do I part, as long as I shall live," right? So we have to go through that
Gotcha.
process, and we have
Yeah.
a beautiful retreat that connects with all of that. But please, if you really want to be an ego, get the self vows and go through that whole book and that whole process. It's so good.
Okay, so we got the breaking point, the vows, that's one book,
Mhm,
and then the
mhm.
self vow, that's a
Yes,
third book.
the
So
self
explain
vows with the S at the end, but
self
make
vow.
sure that you look under my name, because I'm saying the vows, but I'm not saying
I
the
gotcha.
subtitles of everything. So
Sure.
just make sure that you research my name on Amazon,
Yeah.
and the books will come up.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
just go to my website. You can buy them all there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. We're gonna go to your website in a second. Talk about your coaching program.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Your coaching program.
Oh, the coaching programs. So we have the Self Vows program.
Ah,
That's
okay.
about 9 weeks. And what's great is because even if we go further than 9 weeks, like let's say we go 12 or 13, I'm not gonna let you go move on to the next chapter if you don't really get it anyway. But I don't charge you any more money. We're because I'm committed to the process. We
Right.
also have business intimacy for small businesses that want to scale because I'm very passionate about business.
Yeah.
And we also have our 4B program. That's when we get into those B's that I talked about
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the breaking point. Yeah, so that's really good for people that have experienced a breakdown or they've just been experiencing a breakup and they need some peace and some joy, some happiness. Yeah, so those are the programs we offer.
All right, no, definitely. Again, I'll put that in the show notes. And if somebody want to get in contact with you, what's we have websites, Instagram, I know that. Yeah, so go
Yes.
ahead. What's your website?
So both websites,
Okay.
michellerhanna.com and theselfvows.com. And my coaching website is Mikel, Mikel, lifecoaching.com. If you go to Instagram, it's Michelle underscore R underscore Hannah. And then for the Self Vows Retreat, it would just be at the Self Vows Retreat. And you can find everything self love, self vows there as well, too.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely put it on the show notes. Well, again, Dr. Michelle, first of all, again, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. This is definitely eye-opening, and I'll definitely have you back on again in the future. But thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and thank you to your listeners, and just wishing them the best in not only self-love, but I really do want you to find love outside of yourself.
Well, listen, as they say, your words to God's ears. So thank you
Yes.
so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Well, everyone, that was Dr. Michelle Hanna, and you can find her at michellerhanna.com. That's michellerhanna.com. Dr. Michelle, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. Much appreciated. You can find me at peopleondating.com. That's peopleondating.com. Check out our past shows and check out our blog. Also, please go to Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe. Leave a review. Tell us how we can make this show better. I'm also on Google Podcasts and Spotify. On behalf of People on Dating, I'm Will Morales. Until next time, thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and please stay safe. Bye.